the Intercontinental Cup, known earlier as European South American Cup and Toyota Cup from 1980 to 2004 for commercial reasons by agreement with the automaker, was a football official competition endorsed by Union of European Football Associations and Confederación Sudamericana de Fútbol, contested between representative clubs from these confederations, usually the winners of the European Champions Cup and the South American Copa Libertadores. Despite being chronologically the fourth international competition created to define the best team in the world after Lipton Trophy, Copa Rio and Pequeña plus or minus a Copa del Mundo due to FAR Confederación Internationale de Football Association's inability to organize club competitions, it is considered by that international governing body as the sole predecessor to the FIFA Club World Cup, held for the first time in 2000. From its formation in 1960 to 1979, the competition was contested over a two-legged tie, with a play-off if necessary until 1968, and penalty kicks later. During the 1970s, European participation in the Intercontinental Cup became a running question due to controversial events in the 1969 final, and some European Champions Club winner teams withdrew. From 1980 until 2004, the competition was contested over a single match held in Japan and sponsored by multinational automaker Toyota, which offered a secondary trophy, the Toyota Cup. All the winner teams were recognized de facto as World Club champions. The last winner of the cup was Portuguese side Porto, defeating Colombian side Once Caldas in a penalty shootout in 2004. History, beginnings. Created in 1960 at the initiative of the European Confederation, with CONMEBOL support, the European South American Cup, known also as the Intercontinental Cup, was contested by the holders of the European Champion Clubs a Euro unregistered trademark cup and the winners of its newly established South American equivalent, the Copa Libertadores. Both UEFA and CONMEBOL consider all editions official by including them in their records. It was the brainchild of UEFA President Henri Delany, who also helped Jules Rimet in the realization of the inaugural FIFA World Cup in 1930. Initially played over two legs, with a third match if required in the early years, the competition had a rather turbulent existence. The first winners of the competition was Spanish club Real Madrid. Real Madrid managed to hold Uruguayan side P plus or minus a roll 0-0 in Montevideo and trounced the South Americans 5-1 in Madrid to become the first winners of the competition. The Spaniards titled themselves world champions until FIFA stepped in and objected. Citing that the competition did not include any other champions from the other confederations, FIFA stated that they can only claim to be intercontinental champions of a competition played between two organizations. P plus or minus a roll would appear again the following year and come out victorious after beating Portuguese club Benfica on the playoff. After a 1-0 win by the Europeans in Lisbon and a 5-0 trashing by the South Americans, a playoff at the Estadio Centenario saw the home side squeeze a 2-1 win to become the first South American side to win the competition. In 1962 the tournament grew more in worldwide attention after it was swept through the sublime football of a Santos team led by Pelé copyright, considered by some the best club team of all times. Os Santos Ticos, also known as O Bala copyright Branco, which dazzled the world during that time and containing stars such as Gilmar, Moro, Menga Lvio, Coutinho, and Pepe, won the title after defeating Benfica 3-2 in Rio de Janeiro and thrashing the Europeans 2-5 in their Estadio da Luz. Santos would successfully defend the title in 1963 after being pushed all the way by Milan. After each side won 4-2 at their respective home legs, a playoff match at the Maracana Pound saw Santos keep the title after a tight 1-0 victory. The competition had attracted the interest of other continents. The North and Central America Confederación, CONCACAF, had asked, unsuccessfully, to participate. Milan's fierce rivals, Inter Milan, would go on to win the 1964 and 1965 editions, beating Argentine club Independiente on both occasions. P plus or minus a roll gain revenge for their loss in 1960 by crashing Real Madrid 4-0 in aggregate in 1966. Rio Platense violence, however, As a result of the violence practiced often in the Copa Libertadores by Argentine and Uruguayan clubs, disagreements with CONMEBOL, the lack of financial incentives and the violent, brutal and controversial way the Brazilian national team was treated in the 1966 FIFA World Cup by European teams. In 1966, 1969 and 1970, Brazilian football, including its clubs, declined to participate in international competitions, including the Copa Libertadores and consequently the Intercontinental Cup. During this time, the competition became dogged by foul play, calendar problems, acts of brutality, even on the pitch, and boycotts tarnished its image, to the point of bringing into question the wisdom of organizing it at all. The 1967 edition between Argentina's Racing Club and Scotland's Celtic FC was a violent affair, with the decisive game being dubbed the Battle of Montevideo after 3 players from the Scottish side and 2 the Argentine side were sent off. A 4th Celtic player was dismissed but amid the chaos got away with staying on. The following season, Argentine side Estudiantes de La Plata faced England's Manchester United, in which the return leg saw Estudiantes come out on top of a bad-tempered series. But it was the events of 1969 which damaged the competition's integrity. After a 3-0 win at San Siro, Milan went to Buenos Aires to play Estudiantes at La Bombonera. Estudiantes players booted balls at the Milan team as they warmed up and hot coffee was poured on the Italians as they emerged from the tunnel by Estudiantes fans. Estudiantes resorted to inflicting elbows and allegedly even needles at the Milanese team in order to intimidate them. Pierino Prati was knocked unconscious and continued for a further 20 minutes despite suffering from a mild concussion. Estudiantes goalkeeper Alberto Pelletti also punched Gianni Rivera, but the most vicious treatment was reserved for Nestor Coman, an Argentinian-born striker, who had faced accusations of being a traitor as he was on the opposite side of the intercontinental match. Coman was kicked in the face by Pelletti and later saw his nose and cheekbone broken by the elbow of Ramacube Deniguersuarez. Blooded and broken, Coman was asked to return to the pitch by the referee but fainted. While unconscious, Coman was arrested by Argentine police on a charge of draft dodging, having not undertaken military service in the country. The player was forced to spend a night in the cells, eventually being released after explaining he had fulfilled national service requirements as a French citizen. Estudiantes won the game 2-1 but Milan took the title on aggregate. Italian newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport dubbed it, 90 minutes of a manhunt. The Argentinian press responded with the English will write a reference to Alf Ramsey's famous description of the Argentina national football team as animals during the 1966 FIFA World Cup. The Argentinian Football Association, under heavy international pressure, took stern action. Argentina's president, military dictator Juan Carlos Onganía, summoned Estudiantes delegate Oscar Ferrari and demanded the severest appropriate measures in defense of the good name of the national sport. It was a lamentable spectacle which breached most norms of sporting ethics. Pelletti was banned from the sport for life, Suarez was banned for 30 games, and Eduardo Manra for 20, with the former and latter serving a month in jail. Degradation. Due to the brutality in these editions, FIFA was called into providing penalties and regulating the tournament. However, FIFA stated that it could not stipulate regulations in a competition that it did not organize. However, with the Asian and North American club competitions in place, FIFA opened the idea of supervising the competition if it included those confederations, which was met with a negative response from its participants. Nevertheless, some European champions started to decline participation in the tournament after the events of 1969. Estudiantes would face Dutch side Feyenoord the following season, which saw the Europeans victorious. Oscar Malbernet ripped off Joop van Doyle's glasses and trampled on them, claiming that he was not allowed to play with glasses. Dutch side Ajax, European champions of 1971, would decline to face Uruguay's Nacional due to the latter side's reputation for violent play, which resulted in European Cup runners-up, Greek side Panathinaikos, participating. Nacional's Luis Artime ended up breaking Ioannis Tamara's leg in 2 places in the first leg as Nacional won the series 3-2 on aggregate. Ajax participated in 1972 against Independiente. The team's arrival at Buenos Aires was extremely hostile. Johan Cruyff received several death threats from Independiente's local fan firms. Due to the indifference from the Argentine police, Ajax manager Angstrom Tefan Corvisies appointed an organized emergency security detail for the Netherlands Meester, headed by himself and team member Barry Hulshoff, described as a big and burly man. In the first leg, Cruyff opened the scoring in Avellaneda at the 5th minute. As a result, Dante Mercalli retaliated with a vicious tackle a couple of minutes later. Cruyff was too injured to continue and the Dutch team found themselves being assaulted with tackles and punches. Corvisies had to convince his team to play on during half-time as his players wanted to withdraw. Ajax squeezed a 1-1 tie and followed up with a 3-0 trounce in Amsterdam to win the cup. Although Ajax were the defending champions, they again declined to participate a year later after Independiente won Libertadores again, leaving it to Juventus, European Cup runners-up, to play a single-match final won by the Argentines. That same year, French newspaper L'Equipe, who helped bring about the birth of the European Cup, volunteered to sponsor a Club World Cup contested by the champions of Europe, South America, Central and North America and Africa, the only continental club tournaments in existence at the time. The competition was to potentially take place in Paris between September and October 1974 with an eventual final to be held at the Parc des Princes. The proposal, supported by the South Americans, was dismissed due to the negativity of the Europeans. German club Bayern Munich also declined to play in 1974 as Independiente again qualified to participate. European Cup runners-up Atletico Madrid from Spain won the competition 2-1 on aggregate. Once again, Independiente qualified to participate in 1975. This time, both finalists of the European Cup declined to participate and the competition was not played. That same year, L'Equipe tried, once again, to create a Club World Cup, in which the participants would have been, the 4 semi-finalists of the European Cup, both finalists of the Copa Libertadores, as well as the African and Asian champions. However, UEFA declined once again and the proposal failed. In 1976, when Brazilian side Cruzeiro won the Copa Libertadores, the European champions Bayern Munich willingly participated, with the Bavarians winning 2-0 on aggregate. In an interview with Jornal do Brasil, Bayern's manager Detmar Kramer denied that Bayern's refusal to dispute the 1974 and 1975 Intercontinental Cups were a result of the rivals being Argentine teams. He claimed it was a scheduling impossibility, rather, which kept the Germans from participating. He also stated that the competition was not economically rewarding due to the team's fan base's disinterest in the cup. To cover the costs of playing the first leg in Munich's Olympiastadion, the organizers needed to have a minimum of 25,000 spectators. However, due to heavy snow and cold weather, only 18,000 showed up. Because of this deficit, Kramer stated that if Bayern were to win the European Cup again, they would decline to participate as it held no assurances of income. Argentine side Boca Juniors qualified for the 1977 and 1978 editions, for which the European champions, English club Liverpool, declined to participate on both occasions. In 1977, Boca Juniors defeated European Cup runners-up, German club Borussia Mönchengladbach, 5-2 on aggregate. Boca Juniors declined to face Belgian club Brugge in 1978, leaving that edition undisputed. Paraguay's Olimpia won the 1979 edition against European Cup runners-up, Swedish side Malmö FF, after winning both legs. However, the competition had greatly declined in prestige. After the 0-1 win of the South Americans in the first leg at Malmö which saw less than 5,000 Swedish fans turn up, Spanish newspaper El Mundo Deportivo called the cup a dog without an owner, adding, "Rebirth in Japan." Seeing the deterioration of the Intercontinental Cup, Japanese motor corporation Toyota took the competition under its wing. It created contractual obligations to have the Intercontinental Cup played in Japan once a year, in which every club participating were obliged to participate or face legal consequences. This modern format breathed new air into the competition, which saw a new trophy handed out along with the Intercontinental Cup, the Toyota Cup. The first Toyota Cup was held in 1980, which saw Uruguay's Nacional triumph over Nottingham Forest. The 1980s saw a domination by South American sides as Brazil's Flamengo and Grêmio, Uruguay's Nacional and P+or-Arol, Argentina's Independiente and River Plate take the spoils once each after Nacional's victory in 1980. Only Juventus, Portugal's FC Porto and Milan managed to bring the trophy to the European continent. In that decade, the English Football Association tried organising a Club World Cup sponsored by promoting company West Nally, only to be shot down by UEFA. The 1990s proved to be a decade dominated by European teams as Milan, Red Star Belgrade, Ajax, Juventus, Real Madrid, Manchester United and newcomers Borussia Dortmund of Germany were fueled to victory by its economic powers and heavy poaching of South American stars. Only 3 titles went to South America as Sao Paulo and Argentina's VAR copyright Les Zarosfield came out the winners, each of them defeating Milan, with Sao Paulo's inaugural win being over Barcelona. The 2000s would see Boca Juniors win the competition twice for South America, while European victories come from Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Porto. The 2004 Intercontinental Cup proved to be the last edition, as the competition was absorbed into the FIFA Club World Cup. Trophy. The competition trophy bears the words Coupe Europa copyright en Sudamericana at the top. At the base of the trophy, there is the round logo of UEFA and a map of South America in a circle. Cup format. From 1960 to 1979, the Intercontinental Cup was played in 2 legs. Between 1960 and 1968, the Cup was decided on points only, the same format used by CONMEBOL to determine the winner of the Copa Libertadores final through 1987. Because of this format, a third match was needed when both teams were equal on points. Commonly this match was hosted by the continent where the last game of the series was played. From 1969 through 1979, the competition adopted the European standard method of aggregate score, with away goals. Starting in 1980, the final became a single match. Up until 2000, the matches were held at Tokyo's National Stadium. Finals since 2002 were held at the Yokohama International Stadium, also the venue of the 2002 FIFA World Cup final. Results, notes, A Juventus won 4-2 in a penalty shootout, B Nacional won 7-6 in a penalty shootout, C European champions Marseille was suspended due to a match-fixing and bribery scandal, D Ajax won 4-3 in a penalty shootout, E Boca Juniors won 3-1 in a penalty shootout, F Porto won 8-7 in a penalty shootout. Statistics. By team, 5 teams have won the trophy 3 times, Boca Juniors, Milan, Nacional, P+or-Arol, and Real Madrid. By country, by confederation, coaches, Carlos Bianchi won 3 editions as coach, 1 with VAR copyright Les Zarosfield in 1994, and 2 with Boca Juniors in 2000 and 2003. Luis Cubillo and Juan Mujica, 2 Uruguayans won cups both as players and coaches, Luis Cubillo, Juan Mujica, players, Alessandro Costa Curta and Paolo Maldini played 5 times in the competition, all with Milan. Estudiantes and Independiente played 3 in consecutive years. Of these teams, a few players played the 3 years, including Carlos Salvador Bilardo and Juan Rama Cubden. Man of the match, since 1980, see also, Copa Libertadores, UEFA Champions League, references. External links, UEFA website, International Clubs Cup Euro, the Rec Sport Soccer Statistics Foundation.